has, you know, a third of the nursing home population, so they're going to have to pay. You guys are coming in just looking at the dispatch center, but I think you're going to force the commissioners and the sheriff to, you know, the sheriff's department's going to only look at us, but I think you can force the commissioners to look at, as far as you're talking equitability, to look at everything as far as county tax dollars.
Well, we aren't asking that all services be put on a fee-for-service basis.
I understand that.
Suggesting that we should do that to back us off of this, I think that's.
No, I'm not suggesting anything.
That's an unfortunate comment.
I
do appreciate that you acknowledge that on paragraph 3, there's immediate communication available to all county entities without a change to existing infrastructure. I'm glad to hear you acknowledge that that may not be completely accurate. And it does sound as though you're acknowledging that the estimated annual cost of expansion to accommodate these towns would be more than $60,000. We just think that this is a matter of equity that should be recognized, and that a small working group should be put together to see how this can be made more equitable. Now, what that means would be down the road, and everybody would have to agree to. But we would like some recognition that this is not fair. And my mother never raised me to think life was going to be fair, but I don't use that word a lot. I work with Linda on some other groups, and she'll tell you I rarely, if ever, even use the word. There's certainly a lot of issues here, and we understand that this would take quite a bit of time to sort out. And what we're just asking is that we start looking at it and see if we can't sort it out.
And we're on board with that.
I guess, you know, Carter brought this issue up. There seems to be some merit to it, and I think we, selectmen and myself, feel it's kind of obligated to pursue it and ask to see if we just can't look into it and see what we can come up with, you know.
Yeah. And you know, I think that's what commissioners do. We'll give you everything we have as far, you know, and be 100% participant of it.
And I think the resources are available for the same purpose, you know. It's selectmen, we pretty much agree we'd like to investigate it.
Yeah. And it may be some kind of a formula, you know, where you get some and we pay less and stuff like that. And I think that's why we want to look at it and look at the real needs, you know, and really, do you want, it sounds like you could be, to cover what we're covering right now, it's over $1 million. You know, and that maybe it is better for the county that we are doing it, you know, and that we should get some acknowledgement in terms of price because we are taking that burden off the county.
That's very true. That's true. We don't have that responsibility for those 3 towns. On the other hand, yeah, it would cost us money to get up to speed to take on all 3 towns. That's not an impossibility. You keep saying that it's we can't do it, but I bet we could do it. It may cost us some money, but it may save your towns quite a bit of money.
In terms of looking at what's equitable and fair, certainly, perhaps, that is something that might come out of the look-see.
I think also you have to have the towns go into executive session and say, let's suppose that the county does do this. Do we want to be a part of it? Maybe thinking of Wolfeboro, we have our own school, everybody knows everybody. Maybe we want to still be independent. What if that happens? Maybe Conway says, sure, we want to be a part, but I don't think you can say that the county is going to build up the infrastructure and then maybe see if anyone wants to use it. You know, you almost, that's pretty much.
You're right. You're right. We don't want to spend taxpayers' money and not use it.
So you need to have a statement of participation, I think, before any money would be spent. Because that we talked about in our meeting.
Well, I think before, if we could, at the end of this, if we could set up a time where a core number of us just sit down and say, okay, what is, you know, Moultonboro's expectations or needs, Conway's and Wolfeboro's, and we'll start looking at costs and so forth. The sheriff handed out some figures that you guys can go by and see what kind of direction we want to go. I don't want to sit on it for a long period of time. I'd like to get moving in that direction. So if we have to make some moves, we can make some moves because it's going to be a lengthy process. But
I think we could participate in the discussion almost any time, couldn't we, Linda?
I'm sure.
I mean, just as long as everybody checks their schedules.
Are we talking all dispatching, police, fire, rescue, or are we talking just EMS? Because Conway alone, I believe, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 calls just for fire and rescue. And that's not the calls to the dispatch center, but the inquiry about a fire permit, or just the phone calls that they receive at our dispatch center. I would have to go back to the chief and say, you know, how many calls are coming in, but they have dispatch for fire and EMS, and they're also dispatching their own police department, which is I don't know what the number is, but they have it annually figured out on all types of calls. But you're looking at an astronomical number just for the town of Conway when you consider all the dispatching.
And same with Wolfeboro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all three towns. All three towns have large numbers. Just when Moultonboro came in, I was part of that discussion. I think I only had one meeting with you, but it would be a big change. It would be a big. It is possible to do it. We can do it. It would involve some expenses and so forth. And we just know that going in. I think that's not a secret. It's just a matter of, you know, do we want to do that, or do we want to, you know, give allowances, or like you said, the scale fee or something. But
again, I go back to, I think the matter is one of equity. And equity can be achieved in a couple different ways. It can be achieved through credits against the taxes. It can be achieved through dispatching on a fee-for-service basis. If the county wants to look at trying to provide equity to all, by having infrastructure for all, we can look at it that way. There's not only one way to get to equity, if that's what you're looking to do. But it all starts with whether or not there's a recognition that we need to achieve equity, and then putting a group, if that is a thought, and then putting a group together that can work on how to achieve equity for our taxpayers, given the services that we're providing to other communities, we're not able to avail ourselves of. Now that's not to say that we're going to want to do that, but we certainly do want to achieve equity in some fashion.
Without pre-deciding what the committee says, maybe the thing to do is say that the commissioners, I'm not a commissioner of course, recognizes that there's a concern about equity, and a meeting will be held to investigate it, so the commissioners don't have to say, we think there isn't an equity, or we think there is one, but let the meeting just develop under the wing of the commissioners and see what happens. I mean, we're here because we've been invited or haven't been told not to be here.
Hopefully we invited you to come.
Yes.
But you didn't say that you agree with our position. You
That's
invited us
true.
to come. Yeah.
That's true.
have you guys gone to state police with their dispatch center as well with the same concerns?
We're using them midnight.
We use them for part of it. I mean, one of the things that the three of us have that most of the other communities don't have is we need to maintain, and I don't know if you maintain 24/7.
We do.
And
We do.
they maintain 24/7 lobby presence. We're about 16 hours out of the day. And that lobby presence is generally provided by the dispatch. So I don't want to predetermine how equity's achieved. I wouldn't want to say no, but I do think that acknowledging that there's some concern without even saying whether you agree or not, seizing upon what the gentleman across from me said, acknowledging that there are concern in the three communities about there being equity, and then we're going to look at how we can achieve equity. Putting a working group together would be a great start, and let them work through it and bring a report back in and
Maybe
go from there.
Maybe even a start would be us calling down and informing the sheriff's office of our total number of calls.
Yep.
Well,
And that way we can at least find out at that point.
we've done that with Moultonboro. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I mean, if we done it with all three towns, whether we ever move any further than that is another thing. But if we found out what the total number of calls was for Conway, Wolfeboro, and Moultonboro, police and fire, the whole works, that would give you a better idea to call somebody reference equipment about what you really would need for a dispatch center at that point, and give us a ballpark of how much money we would have to spend that way and how many people we would have. That would give us a lot better idea than, I think was mentioned in here, $60,000 more.
Well,
You're not going to handle 100,000 calls with $60,000. I don't think.
No, I don't know where the 60,000 came from, but there's no way we could take on 3 towns for
That was
not
a
even close.
Per station upgrade.
Per station upgrade, yeah. I mean, we have to talk about repeaters, we have to talk about I think we have the towers that will hit most everyone. Wolfeboro's, I think, and Wolfeboro's in kind of a sketchy area, but as far as personnel alone, just to handle the 3 towns, we'd probably have to add substantial amount of personnel.
And,
There's quite a bit, I'm sorry.
yeah, and talk about sketchy, the town itself is trying to address some of the problems just within our own town to try to get coverage everywhere, so.
Yeah, the new radio system that came out 10 years was wonderful.
Yeah. So, I mean,
like
there
I
is
said,
a lot.
we're all on board with it. We'll look into it with you. Obviously, I think we need to have another meeting with just the core group sooner than later. And if you can get figures, your calls for service.
Yeah, I got some here. I'd like to know the cost of each unit, police, fire, and other, whatever the other is. I'd like to have a number of calls for each, fire, rescue, police, and other. If each of the 3 towns could put that together, that would start the ball rolling. We can also come up with what we are presently dispatching, number of units and towns and so forth, and the cost involved. And then we sit down together again and look if we can get that sent into us so that we can, look at it and say, well, hell, county can't do that. We got to make some other arrangements. Or yes, the county can do it, but it's going to cost the county a lot more than what the taxpayers are willing to pay. So if we could do that, and if we could have one representative from each town that could sit and look at this and then meet again, and hopefully meet with the sheriff.
There's no doubt the sheriff will be here.
Before
We get a special credit for the sheriff.
Before
in
elections.
Wolfeboro. I go by his house twice a
Information
week.
sent to the commissioners, or would you like it sent to the sheriff to start with?
Commissioners.
So they can start working.
You want to send it to us? Okay, we'll take it.
Commissioners,
Okay.
commissioners, and they'll get it to us, and the commissioners, I think, need to be the central block for most of this.
Okay. We'll
Why
take it.
don't we do this, Earl, if you'll send it to me and Linda, you'll send it to me, I'll
Okay,
put it together on a single spreadsheet.
Okay,
Get it
sounds
to
good.
Kathy.
yeah, I'll have Dave.
The only thing I would say is I would hope that we're not gonna look only at whether or not the county can upgrade its facilities and what it would cost that as the means to achieve equity. There are other means to achieve equity, and we'd like to have them looked at broadly.
Okay. You're the chief of the dispatch center. You got any comments you want to make? You just want to be quiet right now?
I mean, anything's possible if you put the big enough dollar sign in front of it, and I mean, we'll work along and see what comes out of it. I mean, I'm a taxpayer in the county as well, and I live in a town that services this complex, and we have a certain amount of tax burden servicing this complex that other towns don't have. So
So I think the overall feeling is that the sheriff's department, the county commissioners, and the county itself does really very well. I mean, everybody I know in Wolfeboro is very proud of the county, so there's not we're all on the same side of the table, so to speak.
And it may show that we're saving money.
very well could.
It's possible.
It could.
It
It could.
I mean,
It may, it may not. once we
this
really
is
look
true.
at
I
it.
mean,
I think you're
but finding
one-sided.
out.
Yeah.
But we have to
Well,
find
it's-
out.
Yeah.
But that, I
That's the
mean,
whole.
just find out.
Exactly, we have
Yeah.
to find out, we need to look at different ways to get that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If we get those to Kathy, let's say within a week,
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we get them printed
within a
out.
week, how would you like to proceed from here? Would you like us to talk with the lieutenant and the dispatch center directly? Would you like us to get back?
Well, we'll get back
with you?
together as a group again. So
Could
we are
perhaps-
kept in the loop, so we know what's going on.
We set a date on that?
Could we perhaps set a date on that now?
That might be, I think we might be better off to get them numbers over. I'll let the commissioners get it to the sheriff department. It might take him a little bit of time to try to round up some of this information to come up with dollars and that.
If you have it to me within a week, I can probably have a round figure of dollars of equipment and so forth within a week to follow. So,
And perhaps in a month, Mr. Chairman?
I would say the month of July, probably the 11th, a Wednesday in the afternoon at 1 o'clock again. Is that all right? Is that a good time for, when do you have your selectmen's meetings?
We have them on Wednesday night, and I would
Wednesday
imagine that the town manager, who's at another meeting today, will probably be the one who'll come from Wolfeboro, who has the most knowledge on it,
Okay.
opposed to a selectman.
And you meet when?
On Thursday night.
Thursday night?
Or Tuesday afternoon.
That takes care of it.
Okay, so Wednesday's okay.
Yep.
All right, why don't we set it up for 1 o'clock on
Okay.
the 11th? And you get those figures into us, and any other things that you can think of, we'd be glad to look at it. We'll share it with the sheriff's department, and find out what it would cost the county to do it, what it would cost the taxpayers in other towns. Should we have to give you a tax break? Because everybody else is gonna go up, so we're gonna have selectmen from, let's see, we got 18
The other-
now. We're gonna
the
have
other
Big bigger room, Dave.
15 selectmen coming into it, 15 towns. That's 45 selectmen hollering that their taxes are going up because we're giving 3 towns a break. So I guess we're in the middle, that's why we got
Yeah.
big
Well,
bucks,
if you did
paid
look
for
at-
big bucks, right?
If you did look at fee for service,
Yeah.
the only one who will go up are those who are getting the services.
It's not that simple, but it is a good base to start from, yeah.
Mhm.
Could I also have like the staff, the number of staff that you,
Yeah.
that work in your,
Yeah,
Just
Just
staffing
like-
budget.
I mean,
Yeah.
just like, you know, either 10, 11, or whatever,
Great idea.
to
Yeah.
kind
I can
of,
get you that.
to see what you need for staff and what we would
And-
need for staff.
And anything else you think might be relevant to your, because each town is unique. I know I worked in Conway and spent time in both Moultonboro and Moultonboro, and you all have different facets that you,
What I'll do is maybe Monday I'll give you a call and just
Okay.
kind of make sure I'm
all right,
lined up with the kinds of things that would be helpful to me.
okay.
Right, and I think with us is that we're 7 days a week, 24 hours, so we have overtime and a whole bunch of other things that go in for us
We do
to
too,
cover
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
you know, we do- yeah. we-
Any, the commissioners have any questions?
No?
No?
We appreciate the commission's time today.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming and sharing your concerns with us.
Can the public
And we'll
ask
see
a
what we can do.
question?
Excuse me?
Can the public ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Dan Stewart, Conway Daily Sun. So obviously, all 3 towns have their own infrastructure and they have their own staffing at the moment. I mean, is there any possibility there could be a southern substation, or just moving some staff around, or just getting it off the town books and moving it to the county's books?
I think that's one of the things that you look at in the committee.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to prejudge the way to achieve equity and to deal with the issue. I think I'm hearing that we're going to look at all the possibilities with a very open mind and compare those and then try to select what makes the most sense to everybody.
It just sounds like none of the infrastructure is compatible. So you'd have to buy all new infrastructure. I just don't understand why we couldn't use the town's existing infrastructure and just basically putting it on the county's books.
It's just damn hills.
Exactly.
That's the biggest
exact-
problem, is
Yeah.
there's so many dead areas for some
Yeah.
of the county equipment
Yeah.
they have to go to repeaters. And it's kind of a no-win situation.
Doesn't, when I call for emergency service, doesn't my call go first to Concord and
It
then
doesn't
get
have
relayed?
to. You could call directly to Conway PD and they tone us out.
911?
No.
Where does that go?
No. 911 goes to it, but you can just call the PD, which is quicker, time saver, and they just tone us right
So
out.
everybody advertises 911. So
We have
everybody-
33,000 calls a year, only less than 1,000 come through 911,
Really?
really.
Huh.
That's the way it is across much of the state.
Okay.
I know Conway can give you exactly how many calls for service that they get in there and how they're broken out. They have a very detailed, I mean, that information you're requesting, they can give it to you tomorrow. It's recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
get a printout each month.
Yeah.
for
So
selectmen.
Are you saying you have those figures of those people
Already.
that call 911 versus what calls straight to the police
Well, we have
department?
I don't know if they have that, but they can tell you the nature of the call.
Okay,
That's broken out per call.
okay. Yes?
Melissa Siemens, Carroll County Independent. Ultimately, the decision, once you go through this process and you decide what to do with your dispatch, would that be a selectman's decision or would that be a town vote decision, do you think?
Well, speaking for Conway, you've got 2 different groups here. You've got Conway PD controlled by the commissioners, police commissioners, and then everything else is controlled by the Board of Selectmen. And then you've got fire commissions for 5 different precincts.
Right. That's
So
where I
when
was
when
going
we,
with that.
when we decide we want to do something, then we have to figure out how we're going to do it.
Right.
Everybody, so many different outfits involved. so.
And we have it all under the police commission.
And generally, having spent time in all the towns up through the years and with fire departments, police officers, et cetera, I get the sense that they enjoy having their own dispatch. They like having their own dispatch, and they wouldn't want to mold with the county. So really, shouldn't the purpose of this ongoing just be to figure out how to make it more equitable so that all towns are paying the same amount?
And I think
I
that's.
don't think you want the county to take over your dispatch, ultimately.
I think all that we suggested initially was that we need to find equity. It's been put on the table that one way to achieve equity is to make the service available to all the communities. That may turn out to be the most expensive and least desirable manner, but it's a manner the county would like to explore. Certainly, we think the easiest and fastest way to achieve equity is on a fee-for-service basis. And I haven't heard that we won't look at that. I've heard that we're going to look at a number of ways to get to equity. We'll decide what that is and then figure out how to get there.
But Moultonboro did think very seriously about putting their police department dispatched to the county. And that's what started all this. And they didn't have the equipment to do it or the manpower at the time.
So one could go with county and the other two, or
The
two
fire
go
would
with-
have to be
it would
approved
just
by
go
the townspeople. of the
Individual
county.
townspeople.
I'm quite sure
That
Conway
is, that was
wanted to
approved by
dispatch
them to
their own
go to
police.
Lakes Region
The
Dispatch.
fire,
I don't know how
that's,
many years, a
you'd
long time
have
ago.
all the
Right,
different
right.
chiefs.
So that would have to go
Deal
back to
with
them.
But
And I hate to
Conway
say
PD, I believe, would want to dispatch their own.
we have
police
some needs of 24/7 that some of the other things do, but I think the most important thing here is to not try to predetermine anything. Let's look at the facts, and then perhaps they'll carry the day on their own when we see what all the numbers are. Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
enough. You got another question?
Commissioner Sorensen, just really quick, a point was brought up about other services that are provided
Yeah.
to towns, county services. And I'm wondering if the commissioners would consider just looking at equity across the board for various services, or do we just focus on this? and
You
wait
mean
for
for
another group
registry
to come in?
deeds, for people in our nursing home, for people in our jail? The number of calls the sheriff's department has to go to different towns? That's gonna be up to the
Specifically-
delegation, I think.
Specifically, I'm speaking on towns without their own police departments. And the town of Ossapee's, the inequity perhaps that the town of Ossipee bears because they support the county complex. By the county
Back to
complex
that
not
one,
paying
too.
taxes, by the town of Ossipee maintaining the roads here, by the town of Ossipee has their fair share too. So would you expect each group to come in individually and ask you? Or can we just look at equity across the board in several aspects?
Like Huggins Hospital Regional Center doesn't pay any taxes, and we have, a lot of people from Ossipee go there.
I'm talking about counties, government services, not, but I don't want to get into the wrong.
I thank the town of Ossipee for their service.
I think we'll open a big can of
You
worms.
gotta believe it.
And I think there is some
Exactly
Thank you all
right.
again. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
See you later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's so inequitable. We would have a mutiny on our hands.
That are presented here in the commissioners meeting will be paid for county services. So
Catherine?
Is this meeting adjourned?
Yes.
I would make a motion that we adjourn our meeting of,
Yeah.
what date are we at? 13. 13? Seconded by Commissioner Soren.
Seconded, yes.
All those in support of the motion, say aye.
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 Are those truly the big three, or is Tufton Borough